And greetings and welcome to the season premiere, the season 3 premiere of the QCast. Thanks to everyone that's been so supportive of this effort over the course of the first 2 seasons. We've had a lot of fun with it. And I thought, what better way to kick off season 3 than, of course, going to the Titans. And I'm really thrilled to be joined by Maya Smith, the head women's basketball coach at Illinois Wesleyan, and a special guest, Brian Ehresman, her assistant coach, who is with us, a tag team interview. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. Maya, Brian, how are you guys doing?
Doing really good and looking forward to chatting with you about our program. And I do have a great sidekick, so it's going to be a good one, I'm sure.
Yeah, this is cool getting a chance to have both head coach and assistant on here, which I haven't had a chance to do yet. So this will give us some really cool perspective. But Maya, first for you in preparing for this, one thing that blew me away was that this is going to be your 25th season at Illinois Wesleyan. I mean, I was thinking to myself, well, I guess coach has been there, what, about 15, 16 years. 25. Does that blow you away like it did me?
It's a little bit astonishing, I think I would say. It's such a great place that when you love doing something like I love being at Wesleyan, I think it makes it fly by a little bit better, a little bit quicker. And it feels like home. So when it feels like home, I think it makes the time fly a little bit faster.
Let me share for the folks out there a few pretty cool stats. So these are through 24 years. A 458 and 190 record. That's a 71% winning percentage. CCIW 255 and 87 for 75%. 9 CCIW titles, 12 NCAA appearances, the 2012 Division III National Championship. And let me add to that a little bit. Let's talk about the last 15 seasons, Coach. It took a few years to build things up once you got to campus. Last 15 seasons, 315 and 99, that's 760. In the league, 176 and 40, that's 82% in one of the best leagues in Division III. 9 NCAA appearances, 7 CCIW titles, and of course, a national championship. Again, I know that every season is its own thing, Coach, but boy, those are some astonishing numbers that put you up there in the Division III landscape with the best. And do those things what do those things mean to you when you hear some of those records and accomplishments?
Well, I'm a little surprised that I think maybe I don't necessarily look at things like that a whole lot. What I focus on is how far we can get each year. What I focus on is what are our girls going to be doing after they graduate, and winning our CCIW, just winning our conference. I think if we can do that, then that allows us to get into the NCAAs and make some noise. But I'm certainly proud of the girls that have been the winners in this program, because that's where the credit really needs to be. I think my biggest job is to get them here and then stay out of their way and simply let them play. And that's what we've done over the last few years. So been very fortunate, extremely blessed. And again, my dad always said, don't be afraid to surround yourself with people who might know more than you do. And I think I've tried to do that, and it's worked out to my benefit. And I'm the head coach recipient of all that stuff, but there's so much more behind the scenes than just the head coach.
Well, it's just amazing to think what you've done. And again, in a great conference with other programs. Wheaton's always there. Carthage has been great, obviously, many teams, Millikan. So to do it in the CCIW, incredible. Brian, I want to get you in here a little bit and make sure the folks know you well as well. So you played at Greenville, and remind me, did you play at Greenville under the system? Were you before or during the system?
Well, it was my senior year. So my last year, Coach Barber kind of told us that on the first practice exactly what we were doing, and there was a system. So up and down, I didn't sleep that night after he told us that. I was a little restless. It wasn't necessarily my style, but I actually tore my ACL the second game of that year, so I didn't really play. I actually played against Wesleyan. That was our first game ever doing the system. And then I did stay for a 5th year and do it. So it wasn't exactly my personal, it didn't fit how I played, but our team actually achieved some good success. And I don't blame, our coach. I think he did what was best for the program. And so, but yeah, I did do the system.
And if Brian's last name sounds really familiar to Titan fans, of course, he's the brother of Rebecca, who I would say in the last decade or so is one of my favorite players. I always thought that Rebecca was really the glue player for that group of Titans. She was a point guard. She made all the smart plays. She was a leader. And Brian, of course, you were on Illinois State staff. Talk about, how did you get to work for Coach Smith? How did this move across town all come about?
So it started, I knew Coach Smith whenever Rebecca, like you said, played for her. And we always tell recruits this now, like, I sent Coach Smith an email when Rebecca committed. We had never met. I had never been to a Wesleyan game. And I was, basically, I was just, I don't know what my point was. I just sent it and said, this is my younger sister. I have respect for your program. We haven't met, but, I'm entrusting her care onto you. And so our dad had passed away, when we were younger. And so I felt this sense of responsibility, I think. So I was very involved in Rebecca's life. I was at college. So that email kind of started our relationship. She was like, wow, I've never gotten an email from a sibling of a recruit before, but thank you. But then, so yeah, obviously followed throughout Rebecca's time. I would pop in at practice every so often just to watch and just stay involved and see what was going on. And being in Bloomington, that allowed me to do that a little bit more often. And I was the video coordinator at Illinois State, which was great. Like, I loved everyone I worked with over there and the players, but I wanted to be more hands-on in the coaching. So Rebecca had been the assistant coach here,
right,
for a couple years, and I knew she likes basketball, loves coaching, loves Wesleyan, but she wasn't huge into the recruiting part of it. So she was looking at other ways, and I was waiting for her to say that she wasn't going to do it before I said, yeah, well, I really want that job. So once that happened, Wesleyan has done a good job the last few years. They're really making full-time assistant positions in the athletic department. So when they made one of those, I applied, and here I am. So
on the full-time front, that's not something that you and Ron have always had. I mean, I was always blown away. There were years and years where the rest of the league and most of Division III had a full-time assistant, and we did not. That has to have been a huge help for you to be able to add that position. What's that meant to the program?
Q, simply put, I would be failing if it weren't for Brian, if it weren't for Rebecca, if it weren't for Katrina. There's no way that I am hands-on technology-wise like what they are. Without their assistant in that area, we would be failing. There's absolutely no doubt about it. So, so grateful, just so grateful.
And it's changed, right? I look at, you'll see a young lady in high school tweet out, I'm thrilled to have received an offer to play for Illinois Wesleyan. You guys will have a photo of her and that kind of thing. I mean, we know that wasn't happening 20 years ago. It wasn't really even that much happening 10 years ago. I guess, Brian, that's probably one of your roles, is to be really in touch with social media on that front. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think with Twitter, in terms of the recruiting process, yeah. And I always joke with her, I'm like, I am not that creative when it comes to like making flyers and graphics. But yeah, you kind of got to, you look at what other people are doing and try to make it your own. But this is what the kids want. So even if it's not always what you feel like, well, I don't get why we're doing that. It's more about what the kids want. So
right,
trying to, go with the times, like you said, because when I was playing, I wasn't heavily recruited. Shocking, I know, but it wasn't like that. Like, people weren't tweeting offers, especially at the Division III level. So that really has changed.
I was telling someone the other day, I remember talking to Coach Bridges on the putting green of the Shirk Center, and it was like October. And I was asking him, like, hey, who are our recruits this year? Like, the ones already on campus. I didn't even know. And to think now, the second a kid commits, it's all over Twitter. So the times have changed. Maya, I wanted to talk a little bit. I wanted to go back to when you started, because the program at the time, certainly wasn't bad. Middle of the pack CCIW most years. There were a couple really good years. I was actually the voice of the Titan women at the Shirk Center for a couple seasons. And so I was, in that chair with the headset on, I can't remember the years. I just remember Sarah Seabrook was the best player because I like saying her name. It had some good alliteration. I liked Mandy Neal a lot. I thought she worked really hard. When you came in, Coach, what was it about the program that drew you to pursuing it? Like, how did that all play out?
Well, I knew the quality of education that IW was providing. And when I was actually a high school coach back in Carrollton, I knew of the program there and knew that it would be a good place to send kids who weren't aspiring to be Division I, Division II. Some of the best basketball, definitely some of the best academics. So kind of pursued it from that perspective. But I'll be honest, the minute I was at Monmouth College prior to coming here, and having set foot on their campus as a Monmouth College coach, I thought, oh my gosh, this is a place you want to be. So the minute that job posted, I actually called Mandy Neal, and I knew Mandy. I said, Mandy, I know this is a tough situation for you, but I'd really like to apply for this job. We've been friends for a while. Is it okay? And she was thrilled with my desire to become the coach. And then I met Coach Bridges, and the rest is history.
And as far as Division III goes, you didn't play Division III. You had exposure at Monmouth, but I think it's fair to say that you probably had to familiarize yourself even more with what is Division III. It's so unique. Over all this time, 24 years now, heading into 25, what are your impressions? How do you sum up what Division III basketball is based on all of your experience?
Well, my answer to that would be I absolutely love attending weddings. I love the birth announcements. I love seeing and now with Facebook, you can continue to really stay in tune with everything that your past players are doing. And so for me, it was absolutely that desire for my players to stay together with each other after they graduated, and then to continue that family atmosphere, that continual being in their lives just a little bit, not as much on a daily basis as when you were coaching, but in a little bit every now and then, and just to see them continue with so many things. I actually texted one of the former players, Amy Burton, who played on the national championship team today, and just told her how proud I was of the parenting she's doing with her young one, and all the rest of that group. Karen Solari is expecting number 2. Christina Solari already has 4 kids. So it's that continuation, I think, that I enjoy the most. And I think that's what Illinois Wesleyan and its ability to network and stay informed that was so important to me.
That's really well said. And Brian, on your end, you played at a Division III school. From your standpoint, what is Division III basketball to you?
It's just the full experience of college. And we have several players on our team who even do multiple sports. So being able to do that, and then several have jobs, several, can get together on weekends outside of the season, whereas, other divisions, maybe it's year round. So it is the basketball experience of getting better. A lot of it is, if you're a really motivated person and player, you're going to exceed and you're going to stand out because that's your inner drive. Not as much from us in the off season, but it's the full experience of becoming like who you're going to be after college.
I appreciate that because I think Division III is really special. It's really unique. The ability to be close to the people involved in a way that you could never get at Division I think is the special part, and you guys captured that really well, and the relationships. Maya, looking a little bit at this season coming up. Well, first, let me take a step back to last season. Coming into last season, I don't think anyone expected a CCIW championship. I'm sure you guys did. But, I think you were picked tied 3rd in the league with North Park. And I think that most thought that, boy, with all that stuff Milliken has coming back, including some 5th years, I guess they're just going to roll over everybody. And you guys share the regular season title with this kind of a cool nucleus. You had a bunch of freshmen who were great, and then you had a bunch of upperclassmen who were great, and they all kind of uniquely came together. You win the CCIW conference tournament championship game in Decatur. Crazy game, phenomenal game. What about last year, Maya? I mean, that wasn't one of these years where you came in as the favorite and everyone was like, Was it almost extra special when no one's looking at you and then you do it?
It was every conference championship is special, but this one was really special. And I'll tell you who knew that we were conference championships before I did, and that was Brooke Lansford. She is like, Coach, I've never met a class where the freshmen are as ready to contribute and want to contribute, do whatever it was that the seniors were asking of them to do. It was just a really nurturing leadership from those three seniors, Kaya, Kate, and Brooke. And then it was the ability to be led by Mallory Powers, Kate Palmer, Lauren Huber. And then, again, just allowing my staff, Brian putting in some of the, the extra work with the girls on their shots and their footwork, all that good stuff. So, I mean, it's a year I'm not going to forget. And I tell this to everybody, it literally is the most fun year I've ever coached. And practices were light. Practices were energetic. I mean, we worked, we were competitive, but gosh, it was just fun, really fun. And I love those kids so much. We miss Brooke, we miss Kaya, we miss Katie, but it was a great year.
And it all kind of came together in that conference championship game. Like everything, the whole season, you had some ups and downs. You had some games where you played great, not great.
Right.
But in that game, the unique thing is you had some freshmen that were doing ridiculous things. I think it was Kate Palmer kept hitting threes from the left wing on the right side of my screen. And then I thought Kaya played a crazy game. Like she got every rebound. She made some big shots. I think she made free throws. That had to have been a pretty cool thing from the sidelines to see, like the culmination of the whole season right there on your rival's floor in the biggest game of the year. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. And just the atmosphere, at Millikan, it was a great atmosphere.
Yeah.
And to hush that crowd and to, as we go back now and we took some highlights from that game and put together a few clips to see some of those highlights in slow motion. You mentioned Kaya Bowen. Nobody in our program thought Kaya Bowen would amount to much of a player. And she worked her tail off, and she did everything we asked of her to do. Even when we asked some things that I wasn't sure she would be capable of doing, she played out of position. She was 5'9" and played a power forward post player and just was able to get it done. But that girl made strides, probably the most improved 4-year player I've ever seen.
Yeah, I thought that was the best game I'd ever seen her play, was that game in Decatur. I remember just thinking, wow, is she making enormous plays, both the ones that show up and maybe the smaller ones. And so the other thing about last year before we leave that is the DePauw game. I believe you were in Whitewater, so it was a neutral court game, and you get a buzzer beater from a freshman. So Kate Palmer, I think it was on the left wing. You're down 2, I believe. I believe you're down 2. So she misses, it's over. She makes it, you win. That was an incredible finish to that ball game. Talk us through the moments kind of leading up to and right after that ball going in the basket.
So that's all Brooke Lansford, in my opinion. That ball, off the rebound, we got it. She 1-2 dribbles and Katie's ahead. She hits her with a perfect pass, left foot, right foot into her jump shot, and it's through the net. But I mean, Katie Palmer was ESPN highlight all year long. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. That was her nickname. So, no surprise there that she knocked that shot down. She knocked one of those shots down in Italy for us to win at about the same spot. So, never surprised with the success or the heroics that came from any of those players that were on the floor last year, because they're all willing and they're all ready and they're all prepared. They've done the work. So when you've done the work, that confidence is there. Brooke was confident. If she got the ball to Kate, she was going to get the shot up and it was going in.
Yeah, it was incredible to watch. That was, the first round, right? First round of the tournament. So there's a million games going on. And I remember thinking, oh man, we're gonna lose. And then I saw that thing go in, and unbelievable, incredible. Brian, let me ask you a little bit recruiting wise, this sophomore class, the group that were the freshmen yet last year, and we've mentioned them a few times. I'm always intrigued by kind of how freshmen develop. Lauren Huber, to me, is a special player. I think you have several, but Talk about sophomore Lauren Huber. Last year, 13 points, 6 rebounds a game. She shot 50% from the field. And this isn't a 50% where you're like in the low post shooting layups, right? These are pull up 15 footers and stuff like that. Talk a little bit about your sophomore Lauren Huber.
Yeah, Lauren is, first of all, just an incredible athlete. Probably one of the best female
Right.
athletes I've seen on the basketball court in terms of her ability for speed and straight up and down bounce. But she's somebody, again, when we were in Italy or practicing for Italy, she was always wanting to work after practice, in between practices. Hey, can you help me with this move? Like, where do you think I'm going to be most successful? So she's really in touch with like finding those spots because she is forced to play out of position. She was a guard in high school and she's basically had to play the 4 for us. But we can use that to her advantage with her speed. But if she gets to more skill work in with her ball handling, and as we step out a little bit, increase her range, which she has good range, she just wasn't in those spots a lot last year. But increasing her handle and just her full game IQ, she has several more levels that I think she can keep elevating because of her raw athleticism already
Right.
being there. But she has a desire, so it's not just the physical tools, but I know that she's going to reach those levels because she's wanting to be great.
And Mai, did you see that? I mean, it's one thing to say she's gonna be great, but to have made that impact as a freshman, did you see that coming into her freshman year?
So when I recruited Lauren, every time I would watch her play, every time I would talk with her on the phone, I was as nervous as I was recruiting Rebecca, because I knew if we got that kid to come, things were going to go really well for us, that we would fill in a lot of the pieces of the puzzle that we needed filled, that we had some voids in. So yes, and athletically, she, in my opinion, she's one of the 2 most athletic players I've ever coached. And the other one, is Jackie Bliss.
Yeah. Wow. She was incredible, like track star. She was like ridiculous athlete. And it wasn't Lauren, she like lettered in a crazy amount of high school sports. I remember when she committed, seeing that, and I dug into it. I want to say like she even lettered in bowling or something like that. Yeah, like she's a crazy, crazy athlete, right?
Exactly. Even our track coach, Coach Shu, picked her up at the end of, I don't know if you know about this, at the end of the
Oh, that's
track
right.
season at Wheaton. She went to the conference championship there and won the heptathlon. Who does
Right.
that?
That's pretty good. Just show up and win it.
Yeah.
We talked about Kate Palmer and her knack for knocking down huge shots. Mallory Powers maybe gets lost in the shuffle of those two a little bit. 8 points and 5 rebounds last year. Pretty unique to have 3 freshmen contribute like that. Talk a little bit, Maya, if you would, about what Mallory brings to the table.
So, Q, I would tell you this. If you saw Mallory Powers play the 2 games that we played in Italy, you would think, my God, how does that girl get to that level? She was even better than she was for us all season long in Italy. It's like she has she's elevating on her rebound. She was a good foot above everybody else up in the air. As Chad, my assistant coach, always says, rebounding at your highest point. There were times when she went up and grabbed rebounds against players that were 6'2", 6'3" from Italy. I was like, how is she doing that? She just played phenomenally. And again, those 3 freshmen have a different mindset. They're in the gym. They're asking questions. They're watching film with us. They just really have a desire, which I love, that they want to win as much as they possibly can. And something last year that people probably didn't know is that they wanted to win for those seniors. They wanted, because they loved them so much. I mean, they just respected how they brought them along, how they encouraged them, because that doesn't happen, when
Right.
when seniors take freshmen under their wing like they did.
Yeah, I think that the best seasons are the ones where you've got an older group and then also some youngsters that are pushing them and gaining respect. And you had that cool balance last year. As we talk about moving into this year, I think you have a 6-person freshman class. I saw some pictures yesterday on Facebook. It looks like they all got moved in and everything, which is step number 1. Not to go through every player in that group, I'll say that as a class of 93 guy, I was excited to see the name Lippick, right? So John Lippick's daughter, Martha, I believe her name is part of the group. Do you feel real good about this freshman group? Do they complement your sophomore class pretty well? I guess I'll ask that of Brian.
Definitely. And I think with our recruiting, it's always we play fast, so you want to recruit players with some size that can also move. And I think we got that with length. And I don't like to use positionless because obviously once you get in the court, you have your spots, but they're all very versatile. So some of them can play 1 through 3, some 2 through 4, 3 through 5. But really excited about this class. We have a true point guard in Sawyer White, and then we have some good shooters. And then other shooters who could also play post. So we see them all being able to press and play fast on offense too. So I mean, this is really my first class that I've helped recruit.
Right.
So and now it's interesting to see like how it plays out. She's been through this way more than me. So and when she gets excited, that's when I get excited as well, because she's seen this play out. This is my first time seeing from high school get here.
In that positionless comment, Maya, I think you guys truly have played positionless for as long as I can remember. Coach Rose is always telling me, well, we're going to play like positionless. And I'm like, well, you always got a post player. We got Sex Hour, and we got this guy, and we we always got a 5. Your team, you put 5 players on the floor, and there's not often is there like a Maddie Merritt type, low post. You tend to put 5 interchangeable parts where you can't really often tell who the 2, the 3, the 4 is. Is that your preferred style, Maya? Is that how you like to take the floor?
It has been the last 3 or 4 years. Maddie Merritt was a great post player, so you want everything to go through her hands. But with the team we've had in the last few years, absolutely. We're running more motion-oriented offenses, and Brian's done a great job of directing that. In fact, I've just handed that over to him. I run the sets, he runs the motion, and the girls are just so absorbent. They just want to attack anything that he gives them. If we give them a quick hitter, they're like, okay, what's the timing of this? They just want to know. And it's really fun. We love this next new class. And the fact that they are already bonded, they've been doing things outside of basketball that we didn't even know about. Parents have been having everybody over. They've been getting to know each other. And just to see them all in one place yesterday was a lot of fun. And we're overexcited, obviously. It's going to be a long time before October 15th gets here.
Yeah, that is, and we'll talk about Italy in a second. But you're together in Italy, of course, not the freshmen. Now the freshmen get to campus, and you got to wait until October to lace them up. Before we move on from that, Coach, talk about your defensive philosophies. I mean, when you turn your opponent over 20 times a game, it starts to become a lot easier to win a basketball game. And you've done that regularly, where our opponent has 18, 23 turnovers. Has that always, that kind of your defensive intensity and the way you guys pressure the ball, has that always been part of your coaching philosophy, or did that develop over the years? How did that come to be?
Well, when you can't shoot it and you're 5'6" and trying to handle the ball for yourself, you better learn to play defense. So yes, I'm very a defensive minded coach. And then also I think there's a lot of factors that go into the way we do play. Number one, we want to be causing press stress. That's one of our mottos. So we put that into play. We know that teams have to prepare for our press. So that's taking time away from preparing for other things that they could do. And I think it's an exciting style of basketball to watch, which our crowd loves. Our old timers in the stands, they know exactly what R&J stands for. So it's all really important to me. And I'll be honest, Coach Bridges told me a long time ago, you got to put in an exciting product on the floor. It's a little bit about business. It's a little bit about execution, a little bit about playing the game, but being able to press the way we do and bringing in the athletes that we are and able to do that is definitely a business aspect of the game for me.
It always does blow me away how effective, because, and no offense to the system, Brian, but I always feel like the system's always going to lose to better competition, like bigger, stronger players that can handle the ball the way that system is set up. if you play a bunch of better guys, you're going to get beaten that. But when we play really good teams, Maya, I mean, you're turning over really talented CCIW teams 20 times a game. And I think that's, to me, the evidence that what you're doing makes sense, because it's not like you're doing that against an inferior teams. And I assume that will continue to be the bedrock of your defense moving forward. Fair to say?
Fair to say. And the other way that we look at that too, Q, is if we're turning a team over 20, that takes away 20 opportunities for them to score. But on the backside of that, it's given us 20 additional. So we're looking at 40 different possessions. That's how and when you say it like that to the girls, that makes them even more excited.
Right.
Now they're much more ready to even get things going.
Absolutely. And you're deep, so you can have 5 fresh bodies on the floor because you've got a lot of depth, which is exciting. I think this year will be one of those years where you can rotate a lot of people in and out. I'm excited to know how your Italy trip went. I saw the highlights of your games. It looked amazing. I saw all the touristy pictures. Brian, from your standpoint, this was your first overseas trip with the Titans. How did the trip go? What did the women experience? How did everything go?
I thought it was a blast, and watching them, with each other was probably one of my highlights too. Just especially during free time, they would go and explore. But what a chance to really bond together, and we're together for pretty much 24/7 for 9 days, and no drama, no issues, which was really encouraging, because you put me with, not college girls get that knack for having drama sometimes, but like you put me with a group of 30 people for that long,
Right.
I'm going to create some drama. But there was no, it was smooth. We were moving a lot, so we got to see several different cities. But it was just to see things you only see in pictures normally, and then experience them with the team, was a lot of walking, a lot of
Right.
blisters on our feet, but it was a great trip.
And Maya, from your standpoint, there's first of all a basketball component to this, which is huge. You got to practice for about a week and a half, somewhere like that, and then you get to play games. Is that a huge advantage coming into the season, having done that in August?
I think it's going to develop their camaraderie and like Brian said, the bonding aspect of things. But I'll be honest, Q, we practiced 6 days. We did not take our full 10 days. We only practiced for an hour and a half to 2 hours a day. This experience in Italy was more about getting a firsthand view of what 2,000 years old looks like. So we were able to do that, and we wanted to have fun. We wanted to be able to play some basketball. But we practiced our last game on our last practice was on a Friday.
On August 5th, I think.
And then we didn't play again for 9 more days. So we didn't pick up basketball in between there. So I don't know. Somebody said I'm getting easy in my old age, which I might be a little bit, but it was, wow, just an amazing experience. And everything has been so positive from our parents' feedback. So I know when the parents are saying it was awesome, it was awesome.
Yeah, I think that's such a unique thing about it is that clearly it was more about the experience and the relationship building. I mean, like you said, you didn't even use your allotted number of practices. And I'm guessing that on game days, you weren't like resting your players. You guys are all over Italy, right? On game days.
So our first game day, it was like 92 degrees, and we got on the bus at 6:45 and then got on the court at 5:30 to play a game, and didn't go back to the hotel. So,
Right.
And I think that was even one of the days we visited the Coliseum and the Forum.
Vatican
Yeah,
City,
all of those places. So it was, the fact that we still had legs to even begin to play was fun.
That's really amazing. I'm glad to hear it went so well. And I think from a basketball standpoint, I think you'll find that when you start practice in mid-October, that there's going to be advantages that came from that experience. Coach, I want to talk about scheduling. This year, you have another ridiculously tough non-conference schedule. You start in Holland, Michigan at Hope's tournament. And so people have probably heard of the Hope women's basketball program. If not, maybe you should Google them. They're pretty good. You play at the Hope tip-off. You're at Whitewater. You're at DePauw's tourney. And I didn't see all the teams there. I suspect maybe that's where, is WashU there? I thought, yeah, WashU's there. You go to Southern California, where you're going to play Laverne and Claremont Mud Scripts. Maya, you've always had like a beyond ridiculous schedule. When the schedule comes out and you start looking at it, you're like, holy crap, you could lose 8 non-conference games here. Your philosophy in scheduling must be to play the best. Talk through your decisions on your schedule.
Yeah. Well, there's several reasons for that in my own mind. Again, going right back to my dad, don't forget to surround yourself with the best. Play the best. Then you'll become the best. You'll know what it takes to become the best. So that's what we tell the girls, this is the measure. We lost to Whitewater by 30 some points the first time we played them.
Right.
And, they turn around and they get, we lost to them the second time by 14 or 15, played a lot better. And again, I don't think you ever gain anything by beating a team by 40, by 30. I think you gain much more by playing a close game, maybe not even winning. Unfortunately, don't want to lose any of those games. But our national championship team was 3-5 to start their season in 2012. So I definitely think sometimes it's risky, and people say I'm crazy. I've heard that a lot. Are you nuts? Scheduling a 1 and a 2 in the national tournament back to back and playing at DePauw in the tournament, those types of things. But I think it's only going to make us better in the long run. And at the end, when you're playing better, if that happened, that's what's supposed to happen.
And interestingly, that was always Coach Bridges' philosophy too. If you look at the men's schedules under Dennie, they were, back in the day, you could play some Division I's and it didn't hurt you, but they would play 2 Division I's, some Division II's, NAI's. Did you ever talk to Coach about scheduling philosophies and kind of, is it better to play a bunch of strong teams, or did he ever get involved in that, or was that pretty much all on you?
No, you know what? Again, I knew what I had next to me. The office door down from my office is a Hall of Fame coach, one of the smartest basketball minds I know. And he took a strong interest. He loved my players. He loved the Hope Schultes. He loved the Olivia Letts. He loved watching those girls play ball. And he still comes to all of our home games and watches many of them online. So, daily, I was in his office in the chair. Coach, what do you think? Or what was your opinion? And he was always happy to give me his opinion. Some days we didn't always agree, which was good. But for the most part, to gain his knowledge gave me more confidence than you could ever imagine.
And, Coach Bridges, I thought, did a great job of athletic director. He really provided a significant amount of support to the women's basketball program. And look, Coach played, I think Coach graduated in 1961. And so women's basketball then and versus like what it became, completely different. And Coach really did become like one of the biggest advocates for the Titan women. And that must have really helped your development as a program with everything that kind of Coach Bridges did along the way. Is that fair to say, Maya?
No, it's absolutely 100% accurate. And let me show you something, Q. I'm going to put something on your podcast that people are going to get a kick out of. Check this out.
Oh my, there he is. Dennie Bridges, good old number 22, folks. There he is. He's on the wall.
Yeah, that's my my inspiration right there, is to have players as good as Coach Bridges, and then to make sure that I, like I said, take the knowledge I can from him. We still talk daily during the season, and it's always encouraging for me to hear his points of emphasis.
Yeah, that's awesome. And everyone knows where to find Coach at the Shirk Center for the men's games and the women's games, that same perch. And I hope he's doing great. Few more things for you guys. The CCIW this year coming in, last year's finish was Titans 14-2, Millikan 14-2, Carroll 10-6, North Park 8-8. What are we thinking this year? Surprisingly, Wheaton wasn't in the top 4. We know they will be back in the mix. Your thoughts on taking the Titans out of it for a second? Who are we looking at as like that for sure is going to be a tough matchup this year? What's the ballpark of some of the top teams?
I think Carroll is going to be really good. The coach there has done a great job recruiting and putting in a great system for them. Millikan is going to be good. I mean, they've got the player of the year returning for them.
Yeah.
And Wheaton, I think Wheaton, a lot of people probably didn't know last year, is that they lost one of their best players to an injury. So that had a lot to do with their record. But certainly, Coach Madsen can put a program together and get them to play at high level. So I think probably those 3 programs, Carroll, Millikan, and Wheaton, will be the 3 to.
I think Carroll for sure. Obviously Millikan's an easy one. Carroll, though, we had that game up at Carroll last year, that just nothing went right. And I want to say we led in the first quarter. I remember the first quarter. I feel like, okay, it's like 8-8. Things are great. And then it was like an avalanche. So Carol must have some young talent returning, because they were awfully tough on us up there in Waukesha, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. Good.
Yeah, they had like probably 10 or 11 players who played significant minutes. So from a scouting perspective, it was hard to really zone in on. And actually, the second time we played them, their leading scorer from the first game had torn her ACL, who was a freshman. So they have a lot of great young kids who kind of are, they're all similar, and they pressed us. And I would say we weren't probably as prepared as we were in the conference tournament for their press. But yeah, they did a nice job. They got a lot of good young players.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to, I mean, it's one of these things where you look forward to the basketball season so much, and then we still have a couple months to go to get there, but this is going to be a really good one. It's always fun when you've got such a young group returning. Those are always fun seasons. You like that when the stud freshmen turn into the stud sophomores, and you've got that. Maya, I wanted to ask you also about, you very publicly battled cancer, and now the history of the pink zone games, and boy, that was something that was inspirational to not just Titan fans, but basketball fans, Illinois Wesleyan alums. Can you talk through like going through that while coaching basketball, and just talk through that whole difficult experience and kind of how you've come out of it?
Well, I will tell you that having the players that I had on my team is the best chemo, the best radiation that a coach could ever have. Because that was, sorry,
Please.
that was definitely my inspiration. And to be honest, I felt a little selfish. I did not want to let that season go by without being a part of it, because I felt it was going to be a very special season, and it ended up being one. But the kids, those players, lots of surprises along the way, lots of encouragement along the way. All of that was a better treatment plan for me than the chemo and the radiation and all the stuff that happened along the way. So it is an important venue, I would say. Our pink zone is one of the biggest in D3. And I got to give some credit to Lori Kearns. Lori Kearns was my mentor, who at the Millikan coach at the time, and she had been through 2 breast cancer situations. So I called her a lot, and she gave me a lot of great information, a lot of helpful hints how to get through it. And I had really good doctors, not going to lie there. Thought I had some of the best care treatment possible right here in Bloomington at the Cancer Center. So all that was a huge aspect for it. And just really grateful that I lived through it, and can continue to help maybe pass some of that knowledge on a little bit. I still get, it's probably once a month, I'll get a phone call from somebody, hey, this person's going through cancer. Can you give them a call? So it's definitely a sisterhood for sure.
Yeah, and obviously so many people are impacted by cancer. It was a very inspirational thing for many. I'm guessing more even than you even realize, the amount of people that took inspiration and positivity from the way that you approach that. And so, we thank you for that, Maya. It was amazing. And I know it was very difficult to go through. Brian, just on your end, as we start to wrap up, you mentioned this is your second season. And so what's different for you from an assistant standpoint? You clearly learned things last year about what you want to do the same, differently. Where do you take your role as Maya's assistant as you head into year 2 here?
Yeah, I think just even today we had a meeting about like the admission process and the financial aid. So even that, like understanding how the whole school works, I would say, in terms of that process. But then having a better relationship with the players already from the start, instead of having to kind of tiptoe and be, the introduction phase, but really knowing them now and them knowing me, developing that trust on the court, I think is going to help. And then just with knowing how I can help coach, and what areas she wants me to take more of a lead on in terms of maybe some offensive things, and even more with some scouting and recruiting. So just finding my niche and best ways to help, instead of coming in like with a completely blank slate, now just filling in some of those gaps.
And getting ready to hit I-55 and other
Yeah, I think
interstates, right? Because that's the
between
lifeblood.
going to school in Greenville and then recruiting in the suburbs, I think I have every exit on 55 like memorized. So
Isn't that the great thing though about Illinois Wesleyan is that you could win a national championship and never have to dip outside of like 200 miles of campus. That's pretty amazing, isn't it?
it's the perfect, and we'd tell that to a perfect location. You can get to Indy in less than 3 hours, Chicago in less than two, some areas, in St. Louis in about 2.5. I mean, yeah, it makes recruiting great. And I look at some schools, I'm like, how are you recruiting in New Mexico? Like, where are you going?
Yeah.
Like, how do you do it? I don't know. I haven't figured it out. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a
definitely
great, it's a guy. I grew up in Chicago, but my family is from my dad's family is from Pinckneyville, Illinois. And
Oh, yeah.
so, I'm kind of like you, as I have the whole state covered. And just to think of the talent from suburban Chicago to Southern Illinois, East, West, pretty amazing state to be coaching in. My two things just in closing out, the 2012, the national championship season, you had been knocking on the door of that kind of thing for a while at that point. And sometimes you have the team and, something goes wrong. Like I look at the Titan men in that tough game at Wabash, you feel like you got the team and just something doesn't go right in the game and you don't get there. What was it like to finally break down that door and to win a national championship as head coach of the Titans?
It for me, it literally put everything into perspective. It put in all the hard work, all the late nights, all the relationships, everything that, even the additional learning, like going to clinics. It kind of just put all of it into one big melting pot, and then bang, it was there. So, for me, it just kind of was an all-inclusive event. And it certainly felt amazing. My grandmother, who was 88 at the time, was able to be there and watch the game in person. So lot of good feels for that game.
Yeah, that was an amazing game. George Fox, I believe, was the opponent in the Chen. They had a great team. I think you played St. Thomas the night before. So you went through some powerhouses there in Holland. And I know you have a special feel for Holland. By the way, that game, the night, I call it the night before the pandemic, the game at Hope.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the greatest performances I've ever seen. We lost, but a lot of bad things had to happen in the final 2 minutes to lose that game. But was that not, I mean, in that gym packed with their team, were they undefeated? They were number one. I can't remember one of the two, maybe both, but
They were undefeated.
was that one of the more incredible? I know we lost, but seriously, that was an incredible game.
We changed every philosophy we had for that game. We started out running our normal stuff, and I knew within 3 minutes, and we had prepared to not run our same philosophy. I knew we needed to change, and it was hard. My assistant coaches all didn't want to even prepare. They're like, "There's no way." I'm like, "Well, I don't think we can stay with them in a man. They're just better athletes. We've got to do something different." And once everybody got on board, like after that first 3 minutes, we called a timeout, and I'm like, it's got to be zoned. That's the only way it's going to happen. And you've got to cover more length. They all bought into it. Kendall Sosa got on a roll offensively, and they played their hearts out. If that game had ended 30 seconds sooner or 30 seconds later, I think we win. And Brian Morehouse and I are great friends. A lot of respect for him. He has told me on numerous occasions, "You were the only team I didn't want in our bracket. I would play anybody else. I did not want Illinois Wesleyan in our bracket." And then he said after the game, he confirmed his own suspicions. So it was a great game. And that will be the only game that I've ever lost where I felt like we won.
Yeah, I remember that game. Hope has a good broadcast where they have a basket mic, kind of like the NBA, where the ball goes through. Sometime you ever watch the on-demand, Kendall Sosa making threes with a basket mic is the most amazing. It's like, she put on a show, played great. That was a heartbreaker. I remember that game ending and thinking, wow, that is a tough one. But it was, what a game. Maya, as we conclude, you've got a lot of Titan fans, you got a lot of Division III fans that'll that'll tune into this 24 years in, heading into 25, what things do you want the Division III and the Titan community to know before we wrap this thing up?
Golly, that's such a loaded question, Q. I would just say this. I want our program to be recognized as a team that is grateful, a team that is gracious, a team that is humble yet hardworking, and a team that will be involved. Winning, of course, is always it's got to be in there somewhere for me, because it's a competitive thing. But I would just say I hope that people will take away from our program the great kids and the great families that we've had in the past and that we have today and that we'll continue to have tomorrow. That's the way I want people to look at us.
And from a fan standpoint, I mean, kudos to you. You're the team that you put on the floor year in and year out. They are the right kind of people. Like I was thinking of that little celebration for Kendall Sosa last year, just being reminded of the caliber of human being that you've recruited and put on the floor. Your players play the game the right way. They play hard, they play smart. And it's the best compliment I could give is they make me proud to be an Illinois Wesleyan fan. It's the reason why every Saturday night, my wife knows that I'm going to disappear at about 5 o'clock. I'm going to reappear at about 9:30 because I got 2 games to watch, and I'm going to tweet about them a lot because your team really does make the university proud, Maya, and we appreciate it. Brian, thank you so much for joining. This made it really cool to have your perspective. And I wish you guys the best of luck this year. And I look forward to seeing you at a game or two at the Shirk.
Sounds great. Q, we appreciate everything you do for us too. And the tweets are great. We love it. And I tell you what, every player on our team knows who you are.
Well, that could be good or it could be bad,
That's
but
great.
I'm going to have fun with it. And I'm going to keep doing it. So guys, thank you so much. And I will see you very soon. Thanks, guys.